You and I both fought the fight, chased our demons through the night.
How are you doing right now? And how has your year been so far?
Been pretty good, actually. I've had a good year. It's been a slow start, but it's been a nice start, unlike the year before, which was pure misery and lockdown. So, yeah.
Mine was not a slow start. Yeah, it's been a busy one. Obviously, we've started releasing the second half of the album. I also got engaged, so that's exciting. There's been a lot going on, but like all really good stuff. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, then I wanted to know, how did you get to know each other, and when did you start making music together, or like how did this?
So we met in like 2015, so a while ago now, just through mutual musician friends. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really looking. I've kind of always made music on my own at home and had dabbled a little bit with like performing when I was in my late teens, but it's not something I ever imagined I would do in any sort of professional way, because it felt like a pipe dream. But then I met Luke and absolutely love his production style, and we started just hanging out in the studio and making music together, and really quickly decided that we wanted to do something with it. So yeah, that was some time ago now.
Okay, cool. And then, I mean, I hope this is like the latest information, but your last release was the single "The Calm You Keep," right?
There has been one since, but just a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, that was what in January. Yeah.
Okay. Could you tell us what the song is about?
Yeah, sure. So the period Luke and I were writing this album was quite a difficult one for my family, with both my father and me being struggling with mental ill health. And the song is about my mum and her kind of stoicism and strength through that time, and how she was never afraid, even though things got pretty ropey. She was never afraid, and she just sort of maintained that calm. And my mum loves gardening and spends a lot of her time in the garden, so I sort of use that image as a metaphor for her just general tranquility despite everything that was going on around her, and her support for her family, I guess.
Yeah, then my next question would be, maybe can you talk us through the production process, especially because you said that you liked Luke's production style. So
specifically the production on "The Calm You Keep," or production overall, I assume?
Was what?
Sorry. The production overall, or the production on "The Calm You Keep"?
Oh, on "The Calm You Keep."
"The Calm You Keep." It actually started off really organically. So me and Lucy sat down and wrote that song. That's just on acoustic guitar, wasn't it? It was.
My memory is so bad, but it's like Luke has intricate memory of every aspect of the creation of every song, and I'm just like, sure, that's what happened. Yeah.
Well, we wrote it on guitar, and then we were kind of wrestling with how we were going to flesh it out, whether we were going to make it electronic or whether we were going to keep it really acoustic. And in the end, we just kept it really acoustic. So the drums played on the track are played by our friend Jake. And yeah, it's guitar. We went to a studio and recorded that full kit and guitar. Yeah, and just slowly built it up. And then towards the end, there's more atmospherics and synths and stuff, and it kind of grows into a bit more of a floaty, dreamy thing. But the core of it is actually just, yeah, live instrumentation.
I remember now, you already had that guitar part and the melody for the verse.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all coming back. Yeah. Luke had that melody for the opening for the verse. And then it kind of built from there. So
yeah.
started as Luke's baby.
Okay. Then what I wanted to know was how are the tracks that are already released representative of the album, and what can we expect from the rest of the album, the unreleased part?
Luke, I feel like you have a good answer to this. The whole A side, B side thing.
No, because that's from a production standpoint.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
more
Well,
philosophical standpoint, which is your ballpark.
I'm just trying to think. Like, there is not necessarily intentionally, but obviously we released the album in 2 halves, and there is like that. There is a bit of separation. But I'm just trying to like think of the topics we're covering. Like, generally over the whole album, it's a lot of stuff about mental health and the challenges of recovery and the relationships that you kind of have whilst you're going through all that. I think both the music that we've released already and the music that's yet to come, there's the themes of that struggle, but there's also the themes of that hope and triumph, and love. So I would say that is consistent through the whole thing. I think like the production on the B-side is maybe a little bit different, but I'll leave Luke to answer that one. I mean, so, same but different.
Yeah, it's kind of same but different, because I guess both sides have, well, actually the rest of the B-side hasn't been released, but both sides have quite acoustic elements and electronic elements. I think with the B-side, we really try to think about the songs and how they were written before they went to production a lot more than the A-side was a lot more. We were kind of experimenting with a lot of the songs and they kind of grew out of things. And on the B-side, we kind of like the concept of having fully formed concepts going in. So for instance, with Wars, Lucy had actually written that song on piano. And then we came up with the idea of having it as like a kind of gospel piece. So then we'd have to record Lucy in many layers and then have it really slow and kind of swelling throughout the track. So yeah, I guess that was how it go.
Wars is an interesting one actually, because I think a lot of songs appear in their final form the first time, and then there are songs that you try like lots of different things with, and Wars must have gone through about 5 different styles, all very, very different. And then like we knew we loved. Pardon?
Sorry, I said we even performed one of those styles live.
Yeah. And like we knew we loved the song, but we couldn't work out how to produce it, what sound it should have. And then Luke came up with this idea of just like vocal layers and harmonies as the instrumental, with the lead on top, and it just worked really, really beautifully. There's a lot of singing.
I mean, you already talked about the topics on the album, but what generally inspired the album, or like what do you take inspiration from for writing songs, writing music?
Anything that makes us feel, I guess, is the simple answer. But yeah, I think when you start writing, you don't necessarily know what it's going to be about, but naturally the things that are occurring in your life turn into the kind of main themes of the album. And that's why, like, you know, when we started writing it, I was well, and then about 3 months later I was unwell, and it was kind of impossible to not make that a key theme, particularly as then my father struggled with his own mental health, and so that is definitely a theme. But at the same time, I was in a relationship that was surviving and thriving despite that. So that's another key theme. I think a lot of our previous releases. It's quite a lot of heartbreak, and this one, I've always found it difficult to write about love in a positive way. I don't know how to find the right words, and I really hope that on this record, like, we've managed to do that, and just kind of encompass that, the safety and the support and the joy that comes with that, even though there's all this other stuff going around it. And then there are other themes. So Close Your Eyes is I wrote because there was a really violent homophobic attack on these two women in London, and the photos of their faces all bloodied was splashed across the news, and that just triggered a really strong response from me, and it made me want to write about it. So there's sort of these little topics outside of the main themes as well that get covered.
Okay, interesting. I also wanted to know, was it like harder to produce an album during the pandemic, or how did it influence your process?
Yeah, it was pretty much impossible, which is why it took so long, because there was long periods where we just couldn't write and we couldn't create. And we work almost exclusively together in the room, and that's how we write, and that's how we like doing things. So the fact that we couldn't be in the same place just pretty much just put things on pause.
It was incredibly frustrating because we had so much we wanted to do, and we were so ready for it, and then we just couldn't be together. And like Luke said, like, when we're separated, it just doesn't flow in the same way. It's when we're together that the wonderful things happen. And so it was really, really difficult. And that's part of the reason why we released the first half of the album last year, because we were just over waiting to share stuff, and we wanted to find a way to kind of to stop the delay and the pandemic and the, you know, the lead times on vinyl at the moment. It was just delaying everything, and we were just like, we just want to get something out there, so let's just do it. Yeah, it was really difficult and creatively stifling, and yeah.
Okay, well,
yeah.
glad to know. So what I also want to know, can you name any musical inspirations or like role models in a way that inspire you or your music?
Well, I mean, Florence and the Machine is a really, really big one for me, because not only the music, but also the fact that she's a poet, and I am really lyrically focused. And so I read a lot of poetry, and I also read a lot of lyrics. So I'll sit and read Florence's lyrics, and Kate Bush, my girlfriend gave me a book of Kate Bush lyrics last year. So anyone who's just like a poet is just like a yes from me. But also bands like The National and Radiohead, who are just very emotive. And then I've also been listening to a lot of Rosalia. Yeah. How about you, Luke?
So I was waiting. I come from more of an instrumental background, although I do love like all of the influences that Lucy has stated. I guess like my core comes from ambient electronica, cinematic music like Apparat, Sina and Sorrow, Orteka, like kind of these old IDM and new, really expansive cinematic kind of productions, which I think you can really hear in the music actually of me and Lucy. You can hear the two worlds really colliding.
Yeah, then we're already at the end. What I wanted to know is, beyond the album release, what are you looking forward to this year?
Musically?
Yeah, or in general. You can answer however you like.
I think when you write a record, the last 6 months of that are very much tying things up and finishing production. It's not like what Luke and I love is sitting in the studio together and starting new songs and creating demos and seeing what gets us excited. So I am really looking forward to being in that space, because it's just so free, and that, you know, it can get really difficult towards the end of the process, because, as I'm sure every form of artist, whether that's music or like visual creativity, it's like it's the finishing that's the hardest. And so it will be really nice just to start thinking of ideas again.
I'd second that. I think just creating, and as Lucy said, being free in that space and experimenting and making noise.
Seeing what comes out. Yeah.
Okay, then one more question. What do you want your fans or listeners to take away from this album?
I suppose it's about the common human experience of struggle, but also triumph, and how there's always like lights and darks in life, and that is just a human experience, and that is beautiful as well as painful, and you have to experience both to be alive. So what I don't want is for it to be sad, even though there are sad moments. I want it to be, you know, just like, I guess, I mean, I don't know if I'm answering the question right, but just to take away that honesty and the lights and the shades of life and that common human experience.
Yeah, I guess there's no direct interpretation that we'd want. But as I think you just put, it's just like, hopefully just a general sense of well-being and comfort in what's being portrayed, because I guess everyone interprets it in their own way. Yeah, and if there's some kind of comfort that can be taken from it, then that's the best thing.
Okay, yeah, thank you for your time and for your answers.
No problem. Thanks so much for having us.